Hello and welcome to the programme. The European Union has blindsided the UK over its plans to try to restrict exports of COVID-19 vaccines into Northern Ireland. The bloc is considering invoking Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which would allow it to put checks on vaccine exports at the Irish border. But such restrictions would override parts of the Brexit deal, and the move has sent shockwaves through London, Belfast and Dublin. It's the latest escalation from the EU in a week-long battle to restore its vaccine supplies following delivery delays from AstraZeneca and Pfizer. Well, let's cross now to our correspondents in London and in Brussels. First of all, we'll go over to Jack Parrock, who's standing by in the Belgian capital. Jack, there's so much confusion over what is happening in Brussels tonight. Can you just clear up the picture for us a little bit?
To be honest, Oliver, it's pretty hard to do that at the moment. I will do my best for you. The understanding is that the European Commission might be considering suspending Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol in the Brexit agreements. This is as part of this export mechanism where all exports of vaccines need to be given export authorization by the EU. Now, this Article 16 says that exports of goods from Northern Ireland to other parts of the United Kingdom cannot be restricted by union law unless strictly required by international obligations of the union. So essentially, it means that the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland needs to remain open and free. But what the European Union may be considering is suspending that because they're concerned that vaccines that enter the Republic of Ireland could be transported over the border into Northern Ireland and then into the United Kingdom, which could be a loophole to this idea of making sure that all of the vaccines that the EU is exporting are registered. The Republic of Ireland being a member of the European Union, obviously. So this has caused havoc. There's been so much confusion and so much concern this evening about what this would mean after, as you say, a week of really intense disputes between the European Union and the drug maker AstraZeneca.
Let's cross over to the UK where our correspondent Tig Enright is standing by. Tig, it's clear that this has caught politicians in the UK and in Ireland completely off guard and has united parties that are usually bitter enemies.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, the reality is we don't quite know what we're dealing with. Something seems to have been lost in translation because people here in the UK and indeed in the Irish Republic too have been hearing that the triggering of this Article 16 is a done deal, while at the same time Brussels was saying, well, actually, it's only thinking about it. The senior government cabinet minister here, Michael Gove, complaining that the London wasn't given enough notice of this and saying that London was carefully considering its next steps. Subsequent to that, Number 10 Downing Street has come out with a tougher statement saying that Brussels urgently needs to explain what is going on. But first out of the blocks was the woman who's in the very crosshairs of this, Arlene Foster, who's the First Minister of Northern Ireland. Here's what she had to say.
This is an incredibly hostile and aggressive act by the European Union bloc. They are trying to stop the supply of a vaccine designed to save lives into the United Kingdom. For years, we were told after the European Union referendum vote that there couldn't be a hard border on the island of Ireland. And in one fell swoop, they have put that hard border in place. We now say to our own government, the government of the United Kingdom, that they need to take robust measures to deal with this issue, including triggering Article 16, because of course we need to deal with the supply of critical goods into Northern Ireland as well.
Well, south of the border in the Republic of Ireland, the Irish leader, the Taoiseach Micheál Martin, has also reportedly been in contact with the Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen. His Foreign Minister, Simon Coveney, has tweeted, "We are working with the EU Commission to try to resolve this issue and protect the integrity and the operation of the Northern Ireland Protocol." You heard there Arlene Foster calling in Downing Street to do more. You know, the UK throughout this week has been trying its best to stay out of the fray on this EU versus AstraZeneca row. Clearly, it's in the fray because you've got Brussels demanding access to AstraZeneca jabs, which are produced here in the UK and were destined for the UK, and talking about blockading exports of the Belgian-produced Pfizer jab. As I mentioned earlier, Downing Street has escalated its own rhetoric, pointing out that it has legally binding contracts with AstraZeneca, and it said it would not expect the EU, a friend and an ally, to do anything to disrupt those supplies, and also talking about the importance of preserving the Northern Ireland peace agreement. I think everyone is looking on very nervously at how this plays out.
Jack, it seems that we were first made aware of this in a regulation which was uploaded to the European Union website. That has now been taken down. Only a few hours ago, we were talking about how this week had been so chaotic and so disruptive for the European Union, and yet the escalation continues.
Yeah, I mean, I think there will be a lot of people in the European Commission corridors this evening discussing exactly what this means, probably working from home, to be fair. But they will be trying to work out exactly how they go towards this. If they're not invoking Article 16, then this has been a massive PR disaster for the European Union. I don't think anybody assumed that it would be the EU side that might try to suspend Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol and try to close that border when they've done everything they can, or they said they were doing everything they can to keep that border open throughout the Brexit talks. So now it's somewhere between a rock and a hard place. The EU wants to make sure it's still keeping control of its vaccines. The complaint and the reason that this all came out is because a week ago, AstraZeneca told the EU that it was going to reduce 60% of the vaccines that it was able to provide for them. The European Medicines Agency approved that vaccine today, so they want those doses in their hand immediately to start distributing them so they can start being administered into EU citizens. But what they're concerned about is that actually some of those doses aren't, that AstraZeneca's claim that there's a problem in production, that actually they're being sent to the United Kingdom. Then we had the contract open today and released, which basically gave both sides a bit of an argument. The lawyers will wrangle over this for some time, but it is important to remember throughout all of this that these vaccines are actually destined and hope to try and end the pandemic and eventually save lives. But we have to say that this has been an extremely complicated week for the European Union, and it ends in a very, very difficult way.
And extremely embarrassing and damaging too. Tig, it's been just barely a month since the UK fully left the European Union, and who could have ever imagined that it would have been the EU who was invoking Article 16 of this Northern Ireland Protocol?
Yeah, I think that's right, Ollie. Although I have to say, this is not actually the first time that we've heard about Article 16 potentially being invoked in the few weeks since the deal came into effect. We heard about it a few weeks ago when supermarkets in Northern Ireland were having trouble getting their supplies from their head offices in Great Britain. On that situation, it was the British talking about invoking it, although not such serious terms and not such dramatic fashion. Yes, you're right. Few would have imagined that it would be Brussels that would have its finger hovering over the button on this. I'm sure they will point out, this is not about a breach of the treaty. It's there. It's within the treaty. It's allowed for within the treaty, although it is an extreme clause, supposedly only to be triggered in exceptional circumstances. Although these are pretty exceptional circumstances. I'm sure people in Brussels would make that case. Although, as you say, few people would have thought that we'd be in a situation such as this within less than a month of the Brexit deal coming into effect. Ollie?